We know the grid for the 24 Hours of Le Mans, but now it's time for one final hour of night practice where drivers must complete their 3-lap to be able to actually drive in the greatest race on the planet. Welcome to the final hour for the Le Mans 24-hour practice. Hello everybody, we're almost underway then for the start of the session. Free practice number 4. Timing towers still haven't yet changed over. There's an ever so slight delay to proceeding. So while we get it all ready to go, let's hand back to the world feed as we get ready for green light.
Because now he's not in the top class.
Yep, absolutely experienced, one of the most experienced drivers out there, so he'll cope okay, but yeah, maybe the little dent in the pride, who knows? You know, it's an unusual situation to find himself in. He's 43 years old now, and I always think because we raced against each other out in Japan in the early 2000s, and he was a young lad then, and I was the older guy, and now I'm retired, and he's still going, and he's 43. He's like, wow, actually, he's getting quite old now.
Yeah, he first came to prominence really in the UK when he came to the British Formula 3 Championship for the Jaguar team, teammate to James Courtney. Their number 60 is another of those Iron Lynx Mercedes, which is the car for Andrew Gilbert, Lorcan Hannafin, and Fran Reda. With Claudio Schiavone stepping down, that entire driver lineup has changed, and the fans that are still full of Red Bull are getting themselves ever so excited, ready for the start of the session, which is about a minute and a half away. And for those cars that were in hyperpole, there's still a little bit of work to do. Already, there are people with stop-go penalties.
Track limits
for track limits.
Previous session, yeah.
One of which is the Custodio Toledo Ferrari from the Richard Mille AF Corsa stable. Another one is number 48, which is the Oliver Gray Esteban Masson Front Pereira VDS Panis Racing LMP2 car, and the other is going to be Antares Au, Luc Hertog and Klaus Bachler's Porsche.
So the stewards have been a little bit lenient there because they could have applied that in the hyperpole possibly. But they didn't. They've left it until this session, so that each team got their full hyperpole allowance of time. Yeah.
So teams getting themselves ready. We are imminent. 30 seconds to go until the lights will go green at the end of the pit lane. There's number 10 Aston Martin, which is the racing spirit of Le Mans car for Derek de Boer, Eduardo Rubens Barrichello's son, and Valentin Asclot.
Let's get those famous words then from Eduardo Freitas and start this session.
Onto the Ford chicane, Ferris wheel busy. Still lots of fans out enjoying not only the action, but also the temperature. I mean, we are at 11 o'clock at night virtually now. The lights go green at the end of the pit lane, but
okay, nothing from there, but away we go. Green lights on.
It's in much of a hurry to head for the campsites, are they? They're all still out there watching cars and drinking beer.
Well, with our aircon so strong in this box, I have to go back to my caravan to pick a top up because it's colder in here than it is outside. I'm just not used to having aircon. It's not a thing that I have.
True. But people have been saying all weekend just how hot it's been, and we had some really heavy rain early this morning, but that's a rather dim and distant memory now. Right, everybody venturing out on track. This is an hour of headlight spotting, not just for us, but for the camera crews, for our director. Number 4 Porsche gets set to go. That's the Felipe Nasr, Nick Tandy, Pascal Wehrlein car. How's Wehrlein going to do as somebody with limited World Endurance Championship experience coming from Formula E into hypercar? Predictions?
Well, it will be a learning exercise for him, but there's so many drivers that in their very first Le Mans have gone and won straight away, and he's clearly a world-class driver, so you know, I think he'll cope well enough. It's you know, he's got 2 very experienced teammates with him as well, especially Tandy, who can, you know, clue him up the right way, and you know, as long as everyone's open and kind of friends in the team, then you can go a long way together.
True. Johnny, would you go along with that? If you can drive anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. If he's good in other formulas, then he should be okay here. And also, he's had a run out before probably in testing, and I'm sure, did he not do Spa the last round as well? So he's adjusted obviously to the team, to the teammates, and the sort of the program around him. So yeah, I'm sure he's going to be up to speed quick this weekend.
Right, Mike Conway has taken Porsche number 7 out on track. This is the one that missed out on Hyperpole. So
you just said Porsche there.
Did I?
Yeah.
I meant to say Toyota. It's been a long day. I'll try this sentence again. This is Mike Conway in Toyota number 7 that missed out on Hyperpole, and he's going to start 17th on the grid. But we'll watch the progress over the first stint that car makes, because, OK, it's not ideal to be in the body of the field, but it's not the end of the world in a long race.
Yeah, and you know, you can have a bit of fun at the start and work your way through. We've seen it so many times. It's all about the race pace, and now I guess they're going to work on that. They're going to work on how the car is in this temperature at night. It's likely to be this way on Saturday night as well. So one of the other big factors, I'm not sure as it is full dark now whether all the flies have gone or whether there's going to still be a lot of flies, because you know, the cars are doing a few laps, but they're not doing full race, you know, full tank stints, and that screen gets very mucky, certainly as the sun's going down. So that will be a factor that they need to think about as well, that the drivers really can't see that much.
We talk about tear-off windscreens. Do teams save those for the race, or would they use them during practice and qualifying as well?
Normally the teams will probably, tomorrow is prep day, will maybe put a few more on.
Right.
But they will have, I mean, you could potentially have over 10 if you need it. So
you want to save those for the race?
Yeah, you'll save them. But they'll maybe have used 1 or 2 maybe over the last couple of days. But as Peter touched on, it'll be interesting, because it was quite bad last night for flies on the windscreen after only 4 laps on the onboard. So yeah, it may be a problem for quite a few on Saturday evening.
Right, so a pretty even split, I think, of cars that have yet to go and cars that are on track. So it's relatively busy on the circuit. Riding then with the Porsche of Lawrence Vanthoor coming down towards the chicane. This is the number 6 car that he shares with Kevin Estre and Matt Campbell, and the car was binned out of qualifying yesterday for being underweight. So that's another one that is going to start a fair way back on the grid as number 12, the pole car, makes its way back to the team. So this shows you the situation that the teams are in. You know, the car finishes Hyperpole, goes to Parc Fermé, and they're only getting it back now to work on it, and the next session's live.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure they will go out and do some laps, but I think that's one of the teams that maybe he's not going to push too hard.
No,
they've kind of accomplished what they need to accomplish.
Yeah.
So now it's prep for the race.
This is almost like a lap of honour down the pit lane, isn't it? Showing all the other teams how good we are, because we've only got our cars back now because we've been really good and we've been at the top of qualifying. So there is number 12, the car of Alex Lynn, who was put it on the pole position. Number 5, Porsche, Julian Adler, Michael Christensen, Mathieu Jaminet's car, which had that wheel part company in the first part of Hyperpole. And so they're now going to work Cadillac Hertz Team Jota. Johnny, just touching on the team for a moment. I mean, we know that Jota is good from what it's achieved in LMP2 in the past, and Porsche last year, to bin off Porsche to go to another manufacturer is saying something. And clearly Sam Hickman and the Jota team saw something in Cadillac, and, you know, boy, have they delivered.
It's just the quality of the team, really. I mean, to change manufacturer, I don't think they started the program straight away after they finished WEC. You know, they clearly done a few tests, but they would have taken their time to build and understand the cars. Obviously, they're a great team, and they would have gone through this car with a fine-tooth comb to understand it more than anything else. And to put it on pole overall here at Le Mans, having only done 3 races prior to this, is such an impressive. But they have an impressive record, don't they, around Le Mans as a team. They've got great engineers, great mechanics, and a bit of a consistent driver lineup in terms of who's in the car now. But they've got people with experience with the Cadillac, like Alexander Lind, who's just delivered one of the strongest laps, obviously, this afternoon.
And those cars sound fantastic as well, don't they? I mean, wherever you stand around the circuit, they sound like a proper sports car should. Yeah,
we went out to watch Hyperpole there, and they did definitely sound awesome. But what impressed me with them, though, is how stable the car looked on entry into the Ford chicane. And it made that Alex looked like he committed so late and so efficiently on braking that he had so much confidence in what was underneath him as well. So clearly the package is working well.
Drama's here, coming out of the first chicane. It's one of the GT cars that has ground to a halt and it's trying to get going.
That's the Mercedes. Hopefully it's not the Mercedes.
Oh, gosh, if it's the Groves, then they really are in strife. We've got Stoffel Van Dorner under investigation for cutting at Marshall's post 3, but
I think they did have a red strip on yesterday. I don't know if they have changed things around with the car, but it might be them.
Right, okay. So trying to peer at the track map and see if we can confirm it. It is 63, and so that car with Brenton Grove Jr. at the wheel, has had a moment, or a drama, coming out of the first of the chicanes. Oh, it goes from bad to worse, doesn't it? Yeah,
that kind of looks like it was a car issue rather than a driver issue.
Right, so yellow flag is out there, and we'll keep an eye as to whether that car is able to get going again. Race directors, Johnny, for a GT3 car would give you, what, 30 seconds or so to try and restart it, cycle through?
Yeah, they'll do a control.
I think he's stuck in gear at the moment.
Okay.
So he cannot downshift, and that's why he can't move.
So, yellow flag is there, and if that car can't get any night laps in, they're going to have to plead their case to the stewards. But as Stephen and Brenton Grove are both rookies to Le Mans, they're going to have to really charm the stewards. Put your driving standards advisor hat on. If they came to you and said, look, you know, we've come all this way from Australia, you know the travails we've had, we've done a lot of races in the past, but not Le Mans, I'll let you ponder that. Let's just listen in.
I'm stuck in 4th gear. Do you want me to try and drive it back? Something's not right. It's not even idling properly.
An answer came there now. Right.
I would look at the experience. What did they do on the test day?
Yeah.
What is their experience overall? If they've got 0 laps around here in a dark condition and are not super experienced, then I wouldn't be too lenient, actually, when you've got so many cars on track.
Well, let's see whether that car can limp back. We've still got the yellow flag there, and we're going to have a slow zone. So there will be a slow zone. The teams are being told to prepare for it at Marshall's post 11. So coming out of that first chicane. So the Groves' rather torrid weekend continues. Right, on board with Lawrence Vanthor in the meantime. And the yellow flag is about to go into action, isn't it? Coming to that slow zone. Looks like a completely different racetrack, doesn't it, in the dark? Fantastic shots as he comes to the end of the Mulsanne straight to Mulsanne corner. Goes right, gets back on the power now. Pulls the pin. Bit of gravel on the road there.
It's important for the drivers as well, again, just to experience, to know exactly where every slow zone is as well. We've got 9 slow zones, and it's important for homework to be done before the weekend, just in case of a procedure or even a radio failure. So you actually know exactly where every slow zone is. So hopefully everyone's up to speed with that.
So 10 minutes into the session and drama for a car that just seems to attract drama this weekend, doesn't it? So it's had its big accident, it's been rebuilt. It got through the earlier practice session okay, didn't it? But then straight out of the pit lane into FP4 and the Gremlin strike. Lawrence Vanthor, though, looking really rapid in number 6 Porsche.
So we're hearing that the race director is giving that Mercedes a bit of a hurry up. If it can't get moving, it should get moving. I mean, if it's in 4th gear, it should be able to drive back around the track and get back to the pits. No reason why it wouldn't be able to. Okay, it's going to be on low revs on the tight corners, but it should have no issue getting back if that is a thing. But then again, if there's a loss of power and it's stuck in 4th gear and it can't take itself off the idle, then that's a bigger issue.
Yeah, I don't know if they've changed something from practice, and obviously, unfortunately, something's maybe failed or gone into a certain mode. But yeah, it's such a shame that they can't. Hopefully they can get going soon. But yeah, you're right. If they can just get idling in 4th and have tick over and get back, I think that will be a big gain for the team to try and rectify the issue.
Yeah, currently the red S beside the car 63, so still stopped on track.
Right, well, while the Groves problem persists, let's see who is running, because more and more of the cars have gone out now, so the road is getting much, much busier.
Yellow's out.
Yeah, and there's the slow zone then, so that part of the racetrack neutralised while that Mercedes is moved, but yeah, with none of the three having done any night running, with two of the three being rookies to the event, it's not looking great. On board now with Andre Lotterer.
Type in a 24-hour is that we talk about how physical these cars are.
I think the biggest challenge, honestly, is maybe in previous years reliability is the focus, but now it's so competitive. You actually have to kind of be really in the fight the whole way, and so we're working hard to try and find a bit of performance. I think we're going to hope we can have a clean race with no mistakes, and that might put us somewhere by the end, but you're going to have to be fast and have performance as well, so finding that's the other tricky thing.
Have you been told about the drivers' parade tomorrow? You looking forward to that?
I am, yeah. I mean, it's fun. I think we've been trying to make the most of all the kind of festivities that come with Le Mans, trying to enjoy it, soak it up as much as I can, and tomorrow's a big part of that, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm probably going to be a bit tired after tonight's night session, but still I'm going to enjoy it, and then obviously the big race on Saturday.
You're not at the Nürburgring next week, are you?
No.
You're not back at the Nürburgring, I should say.
No.
Enjoy the parade.
Right. Thank you.
Enjoy the parade. Enjoy the rest of your experience, Jamie. And I've got to say, mate, I am delighted to finally have you here. It's where you belong. Jamie Chadwick. I mean, we're expecting a lot from her, aren't we?
Totally, and we've already seen quite a lot from her in the European Le Mans Series, in fairness. 2 races and 2 LMP2 wins. The purists will say the first one at Barcelona wasn't actually an overall win, but it certainly was at Le Castellet, because what happened at Barcelona was an LMP2 Pro-Am driver lineup won the 4 hours of Barcelona to kick off that season. Peter Snowden's been waiting patiently with Jota for another CrowdStrike pit report, so we're trying to get to the bottom here, Snowy, of precisely why the Cadillacs, the front row Cadillacs that were decided in Hyperpole earlier, why they're actually heading into the session.
Well, that was a question I put to Sam Hignett, who did wait around patiently for a little bit. He's had to go off and do stuff because he's got both cars in this session. And I just reiterated that which you said to him, that they've put both cars on the front row, and why is the need? And he said very simple, he said, we are still learning. We can't get enough information, it's night, we just get more data. So I can confirm that Jensen Button is out in the number 38 car now, and I did say, yeah, number 12 has got an auto just gone to it now, and they're literally just putting a fresh set of, well, it's actually a scrub set of slicks onto it now. Yeah, they're all scrubbed set going onto it, and that's about to go out any second. So data gathering, still learning.
Of course, yeah, and you can never have enough of that, particularly because this is still the first year of Hertz Team Jota running that particular car, Paul.
And I think the other thing is to try and find out whether the soft tyre, the soft Michelin tyre, works at night, or if it does work at night, how many laps they can do on it. Because it will give you a performance advantage. The suggestion was last night, I think there was only one team, possibly 2, that did try the soft tyre, which if you're watching, I don't know if it's possible to see it from the sidelines when you're watching from the spectator enclosure, has the white sidewall stickers on it. If you're opposite the pits, you should be able to see into the pits and see if any cars are putting the white sidewalls on. But of course, it's not just a matter of going out and doing a couple of laps. You really want to do a full stint on it. It's cooler tonight than it was last night. The general feeling was that the soft tyre was too soft last night. It's a bit cooler tonight, so maybe, and it's maybe cooler on Saturday night into Sunday, that's what they're going to be doing during this session.
Brenton Grove on the radio. I'm going to kill the power now. See you later. That's it for the session. That Mercedes is not going to run again by the sounds of things. They're stranded out in the countryside just after the first chicane. There's still a slow zone there to deal with the recovery. And we said it was going to be tight if everything went to plan. So now it's a question of writing a very polite letter to all those concerned, Peter Mackay.
Yeah, as Paul said, you know, they're just at the mercy of the race director now. So what a disaster. I mean, you really have to feel for Stephen and Brenton Grove, father and son duo, coming here with Lucas Stoltz. They've had success at their home race at Bathurst 12 Hour, which has a a darkness element. It's not at the night time, it's actually in the morning, but they have driven in darkness. Yeah. They've driven in the Portimao 24 hours as well, and I'm sure other things too. But yeah, this is obviously Le Mans is the pinnacle for sports car racers, and it's just been a total disaster for them. Hopefully they will get to start the race on Saturday. I really do hope so, that they get the opportunity to do that. The slow zone from pretty much not in quite the whole length of the Mulsanne Straight, but 3/4 of it, that is a nightmare for the number 33 TF Sport car, because they're trying to get their laps done, and when you've got a slow zone on a big part of the circuit, that of course slows you down quite a bit. So that's not what they needed either.
Yeah, and obviously the difference between 80 kilometres an hour and probably somewhere north of 200, which is what they would be doing at full pace, quite a big difference that wouldn't have been the case, for example, if the slow zone included the Porsche curves. Anyway, the slow zone has been removed now. It was out for 7.5 minutes in total, so everybody will have been past it at least once, some twice, but the bad news really there for Brenton and Stephen Grove. I wonder if Stephen Grove took part in the Bathurst 24, whether that would, because he's old enough to have taken part in it. That possibly would be his defence.
Is that early 2000s
yeah.
that it ran for a couple of years, I think.
But I don't know what other nighttime racing the Grove family might have done.
Portimao 24 hours they did.
Okay.
In the Creventic series, they drove with Garth Tander actually in a Mercedes run by Obama Motorsport. And as I said, you know, the Bathurst 12 hour isn't under darkness for long. It's maybe an hour and a half or so under darkness.
12 hours is,
in the morning, maybe an hour.
Yeah.
So, but it's driving at night time. It's not multi-class though as well though. That's
and it's not Le Mans. That's the other
thing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think we can speculate any further on that one, but desperately bad luck for them. The incident, I was just going to say, Brenton, he wasn't actually on his out lap. He had completed a full lap, and then he was on his second lap, his first flying lap, when the car ground to a halt. So he got some miles in.
Peugeot number 93 has just rotated coming out of the Ford chicane, and as it did so there was an Alpine right on its boot lid which nearly piled into the back of a fellow French car. Couldn't tell at that speed which of the Alpines it was, because as PMAC and I were discussing earlier on in the day, you can't tell the two Peugeots apart even in the daytime, and the Alpines are just as bad or as good depending on whether you like cars that look the same and you can tell that they're in the same team. But not even the door mirrors or the rear wing end plates on either the Peugeots or the Alpines are different. So at night we haven't got a chance. But anyway, thankfully there was no connection there between the Alpine, and there was another, I think, hypercar behind that as well, as Mikkel Jensen had his moment coming out of the Ford chicane. That might have been just a bit too much right foot. It might have been a low tyre temperature as we've got 20 minutes into this session. Let's go back to Joe Bradley for a CrowdStrike pit.
And accelerates out the other side now of Arnage, back onto the power once more. Road still busy ahead.
Is that the TC, the blue?
I think it looks like they had what we had in GT, which is locking lights. So it looks like a red light was nearly sort of catching and sort of nearly locking the tyre. Blue light was quite far into the braking zone. So, and then they'll do the reverse for the TC as well. So yeah, those modules can be used either way.
Just under 40 minutes of the session still to go, as times are starting to improve a little bit, inevitably, now that the road is clear of the slow zones. So people being able to do a proper pace. And up to the top of the times now goes Laurens Vanthoor. So the number 6 Porsche does a 3:28.2. This is Mikkel Jensen making his run out of the chicane. Over the line. And now to the top goes Ferdinand Habsburg's Alpine. And the Alpines have looked pretty strong so far this weekend. A big improvement on last year, certainly.
Yeah, I think that the ultimate pace, perhaps, in qualifying, I kind of thought he might be a little bit higher up. Yeah, the race pace at Spa was certainly very good. So they have got that to fall back on, and hopefully it's the same here for them.
Yeah, last year reliability was the big issue, but they've been able to improve on that. The cars have been looking good in earlier races. Remember how well they went at Spa. And back on board with Mikkel Jensen. This Peugeot also looking quick. Is it being reflected so in the time? 6th fastest at the moment, but again, they're working through a plan, trying to get that nighttime experience here.
Talking of Spa, again, a little plug for the full access on YouTube. If you go and search that, the WEC full access from Spa, it's get a good bird's eye view of the Peugeot going around there. Was there any contact there?
It looked very close, didn't it? It looked like there could have been a small amount of contact, but yeah, he did lose the rear, but it looked like it was very, very close to having a bit of a contact.
Peugeot team look on as the session ticks away. So for Peugeot right now, 94, Stoffel van Dorn 4th quickest. What about Toyota? Well, in number 8, it at the moment is Ria Hirakawa. And it's going to get busy in front of him before long. This car is currently 12th in the times. Hirakawa then making the run now up towards Indianapolis. And as I say, before long, he's going to find himself on the back of the traffic. Comes out of the left of Indianapolis up towards the right of Arnage. Let's listen in for a moment.
There are a few GTs ahead of you, so hopefully we get them at opportune times. You're 2/10 up on P1 at the moment through 2 sectors. Good job.
We're getting 1 or 2 purple sectors, though, aren't we? And one of them has come from Hirakawa, and another one has come from Mikkel Jensen in the Peugeot. LMP2 at the minute. It's Naveen Rao's Nielsen Racing entry that's quickest, and Eddie Cheever the third is fastest in LMGT3 in the Ziggo Sport Tempesta car.
It's always a nice radio message when somebody says you're quickest in a sector. You know, it's nice to hear that in the radio and knowing that you're on the limit so far and the car's working well in that sector, because it's nice to have a bit of a gauge or a bit of a benchmark, shall we say, of where the pace is, because the track has clearly changed today with the overnight or this morning's quite heavy rain. So yeah, these guys are just finding a bit of a feel just now of where race pace could be come Saturday evening.
So now up to the top of the times goes Ria Hirakawa. So that last lap, which was a 3:28.332, good enough by 0.3 of a second to put him ahead of the Alpine of Ferdinand Habsburg. Naveen Rao, Esteban Masson, Jonas Reed, who was in the gravel early on in the day. That's the top 3 within LMP2. And now to the top of LMGT3 has gone Sarah Bovey, super sub, because she'd been brought in to replace the injured Michelle Gatting after an injury sustained on the test day. And the Iron Dames Porsche, for the moment, fastest in class ahead of Jack Hawksworth's Lexus. And Jack seemed to struggle, Johnny, earlier on in the night in Hyperpole, didn't he?
Yeah, I personally thought he was going to be in the mix for pole position, but unfortunately just didn't really piece the lap together, never get it all together. But they still start P8, so they've still got a great chance. But yeah, the Lexus has been pretty fast in the test on Sunday, and they've been pretty good in the free practices as well. But looking at the car on track, it definitely looks like it's a nice package to drive at the moment, but yeah, he's unfortunately didn't piece it together.
Mike Conway coming up to the line, so 8th fastest that car is at the moment. But Julian Andlau's Porsche now goes to the top. So the teams are still treating this with intent, aren't they? You know, they may already have the experience of running in the dark, but people are still pushing. And there are probably some practice pit stops they can usefully do, so it's still an important hour.
Absolutely. You know, every lap on track is important. If you can maximise it and learn something, then there's no harm done. The cars will get pretty much a full rebuild before the race anyway, so as long as you're not taking it too far and crashing them, then it's a good thing to go and do.
This is the Iron Dames Porsche. Sarah Bovey at the wheel of it.
Very late on the brakes. Yeah. Just missed their apex, just got the car around. These cars still running ABS braking, whereas the hypercar and P2s are not.
This is This is actually quite an important session for a lot of the bronze-graded drivers, because if you can get them to be a bit more confident by the end of play at this session, it's a good thing to roll into the race. But at the same time, it's a tricky session because you do not want them to make any mistakes at all, because literally we go straight into the race with a small warm-up on Saturday. But it's important to break through that confidence and try and get them to improve their lap time and try and finish this session with a bit of self-confidence that they're there on the pace.
And there's going to be a pit stop imminently, I think, for the Iron Dames. Michelle Gatting's name still there, which is a nice touch. But Michelle, Jules Grunon's partner, really heartbroken that she's not in the race. The car dropped down onto her foot, fractured some bones, and it just wasn't feasible for her to carry on racing this weekend. Number 6 Porsche then goes through, and we've now got Felipe Drugovich in the number 311 Cadillac WTR Wayne Taylor Racing entry up to the top of the time, so he's into the 3:27s now. Felipe Drugovich, a 3:27.7 as the top time in this final hour of night-time running. The Iron Dames Porsche then, pressing on, now lost that class lead. Jack Hawksworth has gone faster, and up to second in class. Simon Mann in the 21 Vista AF Corsa Ferrari.
TNT Sports.
Relatively tepid, I have to say, but now it's starting to hot up. And Cadillac, everyone's been talking about how they were one of the potential favourites for the race and how they had a really quick car, and that really came to that boiled to the surface in hypercar hyperpole qualifying. And not just the 2 Hertz Team Jota car, but also the 311 Whelen Engineering Cadillac. We're a team that don't compete regularly in the FIA World Endurance Championship. They come from the IMSA WeatherTech Championship, of which they've been so successful over the years, and had some great drivers competing with them. They've won all the big races out in the United States, but Le Mans is something that's still on their list, and for them, I think they'll be delighted with their qualifying performance.
Yeah, it's an interesting conundrum that kind of running through my mind, because I tend to regard European specialists at Le Mans as being, I'll put it in inverted commas, better at what they do than the Americans who come in and use an American approach, shall we say that, to Le Mans racing. However, the more Le Mans has become this sprint type of race, the more I quite fancy some of these American teams. And you know, a canny ex-driver like Wayne Taylor, yes, he was fairly down in the mouth when we spoke to him earlier on, but Ricky and Jordan are both capable of driving their Cadillac quite quickly, and the Action Express car, as we've said, is a quick car as well. I'm never quite sure whether the Cadillac is a one-lap wonder or whether it will last for the full 24 hours. But if you were going to put it in the hands of anyone to get it to last to the full 24 hours, then Hertz Team Jota is not a bad team to put your money on. And I hate to kind of say it just based on qualifying that Hertz Team Jota are turning into a favourite, but that they're certainly in with a shout. And Porsche has been a big disappointment in the World Endurance Championship so far this season. Ferrari have had niggles just over the course of the week. Their cars have by no means been bulletproof. And Toyota have also managed to, I don't know, just look a little bit less impregnable than they have done in previous years. So take away those, and what are you left with? You know, the Cadillac's a very strong option.
91.2 FM, this is Radio Le Mans around the world on RS1, on the radiolemans.com website, and we're on Sirius 136 and XM 202 as well. That great sound from the 3-litre V6 that powers the Ferrari 499P of Miguel Molina heading through the Porsche curves. But with half distance now in this free practice 4 reached, let's get you an hourly update.
We've got a yellow flag, hello everybody, out there on the circuit right now at Marshall Point 25, and I think it's the 5 Porsche, if I'm not very much mistaken, who is down at that part of the circuit. We'll keep an eye out if that is the case. Just got to, yeah, it's the 5 that's still stationary down there. Yellow flag's been green again.
Ferrari.
The Ferrari, yeah. They've had a trying day, haven't they? We kind of expected them to be a little bit higher up, and they've had handling instabilities during practice, and just didn't quite get it together for qualifying either, for Hyperpole either. So I think they're on the back foot a little bit and trying to improve the car.
And the lap time has disappeared. So it did go to the top, I promise you, but that lap time has disappeared now, and so the lap taken away from number 83 Ferrari. We've had a yellow flag out at Indianapolis, but that's now gone in, so the road is clear. But the last thing particularly, I guess, the drivers want is gravel being dragged onto the road in the dark when it's virtually impossible to see until you're on it.
Yeah, it's definitely not ideal.
Number 4 Porsche down the pit road, ready to rejoin the session. That's the Felipe Nasr, Nick Tandy, Pascal Verheyen entry. And back on the track it goes with Nick Tandy at the wheel of it. Now having won Le Mans 24, Spa 24, Daytona 24, Nürburgring 24. Back on the circuit goes the Bedfordshire driver. This is Robin Kubica then, so he wants to get that lap time back, and he's gone purple in sector 1 on this lap and purple in sector 2. Let's see if we stay with him to the end of the lap, because the car absolutely hurtles up towards Indianapolis, and there isn't that much traffic around him for the moment at any rate. This is looking good.
Yeah, I think he got caught out with track limits, it sounds like, in the previous lap, so he knows the paces in the car. Maybe they've made some good improvements now, and you know, he's feeling a bit more confident with it, and hopefully for their sake they end today on a high, and that they get into the race from perhaps a position on the grid where they thought they would be higher, but they can fight up from.
Yeah, 13th at the end of Hyperpole, this car, but it's so competitive anyway. We're talking about fractions of a second from 1st to 13th. But Robert Kubica then, with 2 absolute best sectors within this session, comes up towards the end of the lap, riding back on board with him, heading down towards the chicane. Late on the brake, swing left, rattle the curb, turn right, set the car up for the next part of the chicane, left and right again, avoid that sausage curb. Now on the power, and Robert Kubica breaks the beam now, and rockets up the order to go fastest, and now a 3:26.549 offered up as the lap time.
7 laps.
Robert Kubica with another 7 laps on the run plan, but it's now Ferrari 1-2. Yellow from red, Kubica from Miguel Molina in number 50. Good lap that by Kubica, wasn't it? Full commitment.
That's strong pace if he's on a longer run here for another 6 or 7 laps to a margin so far of 9/10. You know, 3 purple sectors and a relatively clear lap there. It's a good lap, you know.
Nothing wrong with his eyesight.
You know, definitely not.
There are quite a few that haven't done lap times, some that have ventured out only for an installation lap, others that haven't been out at all. So there are some teams thinking that they don't perhaps need to go out and risk anything. We've got just over 25 more minutes of the session to go. And apart from the Groves, it's been trouble-free, really, hasn't it? We've not been aware of too many people having dramas.
The odd car again dropping a wheel off, perhaps in gravel, but yeah, as you say, it's been a fairly, knock on wood, clean session.
So Robert Kubica, Miguel Molina, and now Frederic Vesti in number 311 Cadillac. That's the top 3. Jenson Butler's taken over number 38, and Rodrigo Salas in number 29 from the TDS Racing team is under investigation now for speeding in the pit lane. On board with Jules Gounon, not only a hero in GT3 Mercedes AMGs, but also a real weapon in a hypercar. And that's a BMW that has got some damage, but possibly it's going very slowly. It's 15, which is Kevin Magnussen at the wheel of it, and that's only of late gone out of the pit lane, I think. Yes,
looked quite low on the right side,
yeah,
as if puncture or something like that.
That's why I was thinking damage. I think it's on an outlap, that car. Let's see if we can piece it together. Kevin Magnussen, the driver. Let's listen.
Okay, mate. So you're free to push a bit more. You're free to push a bit more. Don't let the oil temp go over 120. 120 is the limit at Fox.
I'd like to know what Kevin said to the team before that, because he's aware of a problem. It does look, maybe it's just the way that the front of the car is designed, because it looks low both left and right, but the car seemingly has been released, and on the outlap he's identified a problem.
Yeah, and they don't want the engine overheating, so they want him just to keep the speed up a little bit.
Get some air through it, bring it back as swiftly as without doing damage. Norman Nato fighting his Cadillac out of the chicane. This is the car that's going to line up on pole position, the one that Alex Lynn did the gun time in. And Norman Nato goes through then up to 6th fastest. The lap time there being a 3:27.991. So the BMW number 15 with this high oil temperature, 107 degrees we understand, being brought back to the pit lane. But with 23 minutes to go, that's probably going to be the end of the session. And that means the warm-up's pretty important come Saturday morning, because that's the only time they're going to find out if the problem's fixed.
There could be a few other cars in exactly the same boat. Well, the Mercedes for one, if it makes it into the race. So, yes, that last gasp session where you don't really want to go out, but it's a good thing to go out just to make sure your car is absolutely fine for the race.
As he's back on board with Norman Nato then, as he comes down towards the first of the chicanes. It always sounds quick, that car, doesn't it? It's an aggressive engine note, so it always looks and sounds spectacular and fast as well. Back on the loud pedal, down towards the second of the chicanes.
Johnny was talking about earlier on how you can see now how bright it is in the cockpit of the car and how many lights, and it can get quite distracting, and yeah, there's likely to be a little knob, but you could just turn everything down slightly.
Do you have time to process all of that, or does it become second nature?
It becomes second nature, yeah, after a few weekends, and there'll be a guide, there'll be a lot of homework done by the drivers and the engineers to make everything as simplified as possible. Stuff like the control panel, there'll be letters or numbers, so instead of guessing where the button is, there'll be a certain number and column that you might have to go to. So yeah, we used to always do it at Aston Martin Racing, like a what-if spreadsheet, just in case if something did go wrong, whether it's a practice, but more importantly in a race, then the guys can literally do it nearly blindfolded, you know, because that could win or lose a race for sure.
So this is Norman Nato's view, coming with the trees either side of him on that run now towards Indianapolis. Brilliant part of the racetrack, so fast. Big runoff area on the left, and then this really difficult, slightly back left-hander now. The correction needed comes out the other side, but as he goes through Arnage, again, there's a little bit of traffic up the road, but this has been a good clear lap, largely.
Yeah, and he set a good lap last time around as well, so finding his feet in the darkness.
Robert Kubica has done another absolute best in the middle sector on his next lap in Ferrari number 83, so Robert Kubica is still pushing. 83 is the Ferrari that he shares with Yefe and Phil Hansen, the British driver. This is Nato then up through the Porsche curves, absolutely on the limit, as in the pit lane there is the trouble BMW number 15. So Kevin Magnussen has brought it back, but with 20 minutes on the clock, that might be the last we see of it tonight. Let's find out. This is on board. In replay, coming onto the Mulsanne. And then just slowing right down.
So just, yeah, engine problem rather than a car problem.
So that very high oil temperature. Kevin Magnussen slows right down, gets on the radio to the team, brings the car back without doing any more damage to it, and the team goes to work. But that will be a concern for Team WRT. You know, this is a manufacturer program, and they've certainly, after all the testing they've done, after all the mileage they've done, wouldn't be expecting a problem like that at this stage.
At this stage of the weekend as well, that's the unfortunate thing. And there might have been a procedure that he would have followed, which would have been a map switch. And then just obviously just keeping an eye on it on the inlet.
Got another good lap out of Robert Kubica now, because he's gone into the 3:26.5 bracket, 3:26.523. He's barely a second up on Antonio Fuoco, who's taken over number 50. So Kevin Magnussen got the oil temperature down on the way back to the pit lane, but it's not urgent work there. let's just hear an earlier message, driver to team.
Okay, so it looks like it's a terminal issue for us today, so unfortunately you can jump out, we will not go out again. Sorry, man.
Copy.
Big worry, all of that, as we've been saying, for the Team WRT squad. Kevin Magnussen fairly stoic in his response, but yeah, at this stage, WRT ought to be thinking about the race, not thinking about a car that they may have to do some more work to. We're getting another absolute best middle sector, Charles Milesi in number 35 Alpine. So as we get towards midnight and the temperatures finally start to drop, that's helping the engines, helping the speed a little bit. There is number 150 Ferrari, which was a car given a stop-go penalty early on. Custodio Toledo, Lilo Wadu and Riccardo Agostini, the drivers. It is Lilo Wadu at the wheel of the car right now. And it's 10th in class in LM GT3. And AF Corsa turning the tables on the cameraman now. Getting the camera out to take pictures of the cameras, taking pictures of the cameras. This is Lilo Wadu coming up towards the line. That car, Johnny, has had a tough weekend, hasn't it? Of course, a red flag yesterday. It's had a stop-go penalty. It's unlikely to be a class winner, in fairness, but it's not been a great start to the weekend.
Yeah, it's not been smooth at all. But you know, last time out in European Le Mans, I'm sure the car won their class in LM GT3, but you know, they've got a relatively strong lineup. Lilo Wadu, fantastic silver driver, you know, has been a WEC winner and one of the first female drivers to win in WEC. So they have a very good silver in that car and a great livery. They've changed the livery for this weekend. It looks fantastic. So yeah, hopefully their luck can swing now and they can get a nice clean finish to this session, but more importantly, a nice clean 24-hour.
Yeah, she, the former tennis player, Lilo Wadu, is the most experienced in the car, the other two being rookies. Riccardo Agostini, one of the other drivers, former Carrera Cup Italy champion for Antonelli Motorsport, the team run by Kimi Antonelli's father. So Robert Kubica and Antonio Fuoco, the top two in their respective Ferraris. The improved lap time from Charles Milesi, by the way, put him into the top 10 last time on a 3:28.3. And just over a quarter of an hour remains as Lilo Wadu now comes out of the first chicane.
So just looking at the tyres being used, so Robert Kubica on a medium tyre. Majority of runners on medium tyres. A couple, the 51 Ferrari on a soft set. So I think we're in that window now where it could be one or the other, maybe just warm enough. Track temperature still warm enough to have a medium tyre, but in another couple of hours' time, it could be a soft tyre time. But we're hearing of more medium tyres going on cars as they box now. Yeah,
Toyota number 8 has been on a bit of a mix and match, we understand, but it's going for full mediums on the next pit stop, which will probably take it to the end of the session, won't it, with just 15 more minutes to go. Can we read anything into a session like this other than what the pace of the cars can be around this time of the race?
You could take a little bit from it. I mean, clearly they've found a little bit of pace and performance with the 83 AF car with Robert Kubica, and he's clearly getting faster and faster every lap. You know, now he's purpled the first split, so they might be in a good window now. They might have done quite a big change to the car because I'm sure they weren't too happy with it earlier on in the day, but now it seems to come good at the right time, so they're in a good place.
Spectacular release there for number 7, Nick de Vries at the wheel of it. You're on board with him now, the Toyota coming onto the Mulsanne.
Of course, just last year or a year before, you weren't allowed to exit the pits like that.
No.
You had to not spin the wheels, but because we've now not got tyre warmers, you're allowed to get lit.
Correct, so we're 11s all the way up the pit lane, aren't we? Let's listen in. Nick de Vries at the wheel of Toyota 7.
Okay, Nick, for next tire set, we go to a mixed set, front right, soft only.
Okay, so the teams are using this to bring back data. They're trying a few different things in terms of tyres and how that's going to affect the car, what data they can get is going to be useful come the race, given the temperatures. So
3 medium tyres and 1 soft tyre, that sounded like.
Yeah.
Right.
It might be the right strategy for a stint come the race.
It's worth trying,
isn't
it? Going now,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So Hendrik Johannes Nicasius de Vries at the wheel of number 7.
Or, I'm just thinking.
Go on.
Or have the other teams got access to this team radio? And they're like, ha-ha.
They're going to trick them.
Yeah.
Possibly.
We'll pretend we're going to do that, and then they'll try that as well.
And we'll wait and see if they go off the road, yeah. Well, at the moment, 4 softs are on 7, as you see on the graphic. And we'll see whether we do get a mix and match. 23's in strife. And this is the Daniel Schneider, Oliver Jarvis, Ben Hanley United Autosports car. It is, at the moment, Daniel Schneider at the wheel of it. That sounds like it's grinding against the ground. Like it's either got a splitter dragging or a wheel off, maybe.
Yeah, something's not right, is it? It's very... I mean, he's well off the racing line now, limping back, but you hopefully can...
A long way to go.
Yeah, he's down at... He's probably not even down at the Milsan.
But look how dark it is at that part of the racetrack. You might feel very vulnerable there.
Which is why he's completely off the circuit, yeah. But of course, it's catch-22 because that's the bumpiest part as well.
Yeah.
So it'd be good if he could get back on the circuit and get back a bit quicker. But yeah, tricky situation.
There's Sebastian Buemi's Toyota in. Pit stop cycles through then for Toyota number 8. Right, the Toyota there, Sebastian Buemi in the pits. Tyre change, bit of fuel splashed in. Mechanics run round with the 2 new tyres for the left-hand side. Job done, car drops down. Car controller lets it go. And the team's now starting to try different things with that choice of tyre.
So yellow flag, so that's that car 23 is actually stopped now.
Yeah. We're right in saying there's a lot of lap to still complete, so it has had to park. Let's see whether we can trace what the problem is. Let's listen in.
Can you repeat, Daniel? Something broken?
Something broken. Now, this might trigger a red flag, you know, because of where it is on the circuit, and it's down the Mulsanne with the yellow flag out. You can see it stops the GT. So this, for United Autosports, not a good look, and I wouldn't be surprised if this might be an early into the session.
11.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Just wonder whether that might even trigger a red flag to have that car
I
out of
was
the way,
just
because you
thinking
don't
the
want a
same
car
thing.
parked there in the dark.
Well, if he's been super clever, then he might have found himself a little space where he could get tucked away.
Yeah.
I think he might be pulled back.
Possibly. Front right puncture we're hearing, so that was the grinding on the floor. The car was low, so yes, splitter dragging on the ground, front right puncture, but he's elected to park it. The team, were this the race, would not be wanting him to park it. They'd be asking him to drag it back at all costs, wouldn't they?
In the race, yes. Practice, no.
Yeah, sparking you, as you say. A lot of smoke, yeah, that's expired.
Yeah. Tyre gone pop.
Well, I think that's more than the tyre, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see the lights flash on and off. Pretty terminal when he's... It looks just now trying to get to a place of safety more than anything else.
And there's going to be a full course yellow at 23:50, so in around about 20 seconds' time. They're going to throw out the full course yellow. And Jean-Luc Verne in car 93 is under investigation for pit lane speeding.
Is coming, that's being confirmed by race control.
20 seconds to full course yellow.
That's confirmation.
We will go under full course yellow in less than 15 seconds. Full course yellow in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow, full course yellow.
Full course yellow, everybody.
Going back to the tyre situation, a lot of the teams, especially the two-car teams compared to Proton, will be just trying different variations, really. They'll be going through, and especially the mix set as well, that right front soft. I mean, it's the non-loaded side, so, you know, they'll be maybe trying it on one car and carrying it over to the other. So at this stage, they'll be trying to sign that off, really, and on these track conditions just now.
Full course yellow boards, the good old-fashioned method shown, as well as those lighting panels, which are far easier for drivers to see now, but the marshalling force with the yellow flags, while this car from United Autosports is moved out of the way. Daniel Schneider, Oliver Jarvis, Ben Hanley, the 3 drivers, and the Brazilian driver, Daniel Schneider, behind the wheel and having to park it as safely as he can, but race control wanting that out of the way. Can you actually see those boards and flags in the dark these days, or do you only concentrate on the lighting panels?
You have, to be fair, the heads-up display in car is very, very good.
Right.
Yeah, it's very good for us. But the boards are actually reflective as well in the dark. So the marshals have obviously got maybe a 2-board swing that they can have, but you can see them. They're quite clear. But the in-car stuff that was done a few years ago makes life so much easier for the driver.
There's number 150 that Lilo Wadu has brought into the pit lane. So cycling through a stop. And then to go back out with 8.5 minutes still to go.
Yeah, I'm not sure that much is going to get accomplished in this session now.
But United Autosports are going to have a pretty torrid night, aren't they? The last thing they needed was a car being brought back just before midnight. Actually, by the time they get the car back after midnight, with a problem. I know they've got all day tomorrow to work on it, but a problem at bedtime they did not want. They wanted a car that was reliable, dependable, solid, they could just put away and not have to fret.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is Le Mans, and these things are thrown at you, and you know, the teams in general. It's a real tough. Well, it's more than a week, isn't it? It's a tough couple of weeks in the build-up and the late nights that the team's got to put in, and all the preparation and the lack of sleep.
And United Autosports over the years has had some pretty rotten luck. You know, some good races, but some bad luck as well with damage early on, or cars, you know, losing lots and lots of laps early in the race and spending 23 hours, give or take, you know, trying to make up for lost time. But those must be the cruelest of races, where you're on the ropes so early on.
It's a funny one, because as a driver, you kind of think, if I'm going to go out of this race, I want to go out early.
Yeah.
But as a team and sponsors and everything, they want you to last as long as you can possibly last.
Of course, yeah. And I suppose if you have a problem early on, well, all right, you've got lots of race to try to get back in, and other people can have problems, so you're not totally done for.
But if it's a problem that's cost you an hour, and you know there's absolutely no you know, position you're going to get out of this, and you're literally driving for a finish, again, the motivation might not be as high as it could be.
Exactly, because Johnny, these days, you know, the cars are so reliable. To go back to Peter's line from earlier on in the day, it's a 24-hour sprint. You know, you can't hope to just go round and round and pick up places because others will drop out. The cars, they're not quite bulletproof, but they're so much more reliable than 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Even 10 years ago, I mean, the Friday used to be such a busy day for the mechanics on a full strip, engines, gearboxes and everything else. When now the cars, definitely the GT cars, the LMGT3 cars, have definitely improved their durability. So a lot of this heavy prep has actually been done way in advance, even before this week had started. So tomorrow is still a busy day for the mechanics, but it's more tinkering, making sure everything is as it should, making sure everything is tight, and just going through the final little checks.
It's almost a relief getting into the race, isn't it, for them?
Yeah.
Because that's it, their job's done. Okay, they've got to do pit stops, they've got to do, and if the car has a problem, they've got to fix that problem, but you've actually got the end in sight, because the race is 24 hours, the clock is now running, and you've got then till then, and whatever the result is, that's the result.
Full course yellow and keeping slow zone 5. We will activate slow zone 5. As we remove the full course yellow, slow zone 5 will be active. We are removing full course yellow at 23:55:30.
So that's in just over half a minute's time, and it means that from the entire circuit being under yellow flags, it's just one section of it.
Full course yellow.
Right, you're on board with Paul Aresta.
Full course yellow.
The countdown is coming from race control.
Remove full course yellow in less than 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full course yellow removed.
Slow zone 5 is now active. Slow zone 5 is now active.
Right, so we're back now under green flag conditions for the bulk of the lap, but we've got one slow zone. So the full course yellow that had the entire circuit neutralised That's gone, but we've got one element which is still a slow zone because there is this car behind the barrier, and with 4 more minutes to go, the session may as well run its course under those conditions rather than having to stop it and restart it. Pull the rest of them back onto the loud pedal, but heading towards the slow zone. Can't seem to hesitate a little bit there,
well,
didn't it?
I think he almost thought he was there.
Yeah. And then decided to pick up pace there.
The yellow.
Yeah. So now he does legitimately slow, but he was a bit premature there.
But then he seemed to be very quick in the middle of it.
Yeah.
It's like he's trying to build a little bit of temp if he can, maybe hang back a little bit. But again, also he's going to lose quite a lot now through this this slow zone as well.
So it confused me actually. So he went into a yellow, which of course there is no. You've got to back up, and there's no speed limit as such. Then he went into the slow zone.
And lots of drivers making their way then down the Mulsanne straight through that slow zone. There you can see the 80 kph warning, the slow reminder.
Yeah, and then like that's kind of what we had. Like it didn't get worse.
Is that Robbie trying to talk to the team?
Everything sounds super crisp, and then you get like one shift and you hear it kind of like rev up, and then as it's going down, you hear it all of a sudden deeper tone to it, and then it sort of stays and it comes with a little bit of vibration.
Right, we cross live to our Aston Martin expert at this time, Johnny.
Yeah, so that's Darrow, who's chief mechanic on over the boat. 2 cars there, and Zach's just describing maybe something they've changed. Yeah, I've never really had what he's described there, but you know, the mechanics will go over every bit of detail now because they've maybe done a big change, whether it's a gearbox change, maybe overnight, last night, or something like that.
Just while we're under the slow zone of the full course yellow, I'd just like to say hello to Marco in the chat and explain, as you're new here, how this works. It's a watch along. So myself and the JBM team will be on cameras like this throughout the race, but we've covered qualifying earlier on. I'm solo up in the booth, so we've handed it down to the world feed for this night practice session while we get on to some other stuff for the racing. But welcome along, hope you enjoy it, and I hope you stick around for the 24 hours and get involved in the chat. Pleasure to have you.
And some of these are going to be lucky to get another lap out of the session because we have 90 seconds to go, and the general pace, of course, now is much slower. So it may even be that the teams are telling drivers now to box at the end of this lap. You might as well pit now rather than have another lap around the circuit, which is going to be after the checkered flag. So Antonio Fuoco then with an outright win last year. Twice he's been on the podium out of 4 visits to La Sarthe, so not a bad strike rate that. 1 more minute of this session is to go. And now he's out of the slow zone and you can see the car pick up.
Yeah, that looked pretty odd.
Yeah, that looked...
Yeah. Like he went and then either had to slow again unless he wasn't quite out of the slow zone.
You saw the car come back by him again.
Yeah. Like he was having a little burst to try and get some warmth into the tyres, but the commitment suggested he was out of the slow zone. Anyway, Antonio Fuoco is pretty much at the end of the session because there's half a minute now left. Ferrari's looking racy tonight. Are we going to find cars with different pace when we get to the darkness during the course of the race compared to what we have in the daylight? Kevin Estre we've not really focused on in this session, but he's been put in the number 6 Porsche, and the flag is imminent, so we are almost at the end of this session. And having said that there were relatively few drivers, there you go, in the final 10 minutes of it, we end up with a car parked by the side of the racetrack and a slow zone after a full course yellow. Checkered flag is out, session's at an end. So, drivers, plural here, if you were in the car, would you take the flag on the track or come into the pit lane at the end of this lap?
It depends what the team want to achieve on that last lap, whether it's a fuel run out maybe or something like that, you know, but ideally you would try and get the car to the pits if you can, give the guys a chance to just get hands on the car really and try and get a bit of a debrief done earlier tonight because it is already quite late this evening, so yeah, ideally you would be boxing as soon as you could.
Yeah, you just do what your engineer has asked you to do.
As you told, yeah. And then tomorrow, just to make the point, for the FIA World Endurance Championship teams, there's no on-track running. There are support races. The Ford Mustangs, the Porsches are on track in the morning. But as far as the World Endurance Championship runners are concerned, then the next time they are on track is on Saturday morning, when we have that warm-up session that is going to start at 12 o'clock at noon local time. We're on air a quarter of an hour before that, but then with the race itself starting 4 hours later, they get that 15-minute warm-up just to make sure that everything is okay. It's really just a systems check in truth. Antonio Fuoco took the flag on the track rather than pitting. Philip Hansen's car there, fastest, going back down the pit lane to the team. And the checker flag out there to end running for the night. Not everybody going out. Some of those that didn't even get a lap time in anyway, such as Kevin Magnussen, such as Brenton Grove, and 63 rather, Mercedes. It's been a talking point on Wednesday, becomes a talking point going into Friday early hours, doesn't it now, with that driver lineup having not been able to do the requisite regulation number of laps in the dark. So, 83 Ferrari, topping the times. Robert Kubica did the lap. There's 51 being taken back to the team. And 7th, that car, Alessandro Pierguidi, the driver that brought it into the pit lane. Last handful of cars come to take the checker flag, including the VDS Panis Racing Oreca, Oliver Gray, Esteban Masson, and Fort Pereira's car. That's one of the cars that had a 5-minute stop-go penalty early on for track limit abuses earlier on in the day. And it is Fort Pereira fastest in LMP2 then that will come up towards the checker flag in a moment. That car is 21st overall. From Pereira, former single-seater racer, but in recent years he's been very much a GT Lamborghini specialist, but pretty much anything you plonk him into, he goes well. That's another car that will take the flag on the track rather than in the pit lane. Olivier Panis looks on, thumbs up, happy, content. The former Grand Prix racer, Monaco Grand Prix winner, he's one Grand Prix win for Ligier. Job done for the night. But that's the hero of the day, at least the car is. Number 12, Alex Lynn putting in on pole position for the 24 Hours of Le Mans. 6th in this session was Norman Nato, who's about to wriggle free from the Cadillac. Looks good, sounds good, and the squad, Cadillac, Hertz, Team Jota, must be serious contenders now for a win going into the race itself. Team moving from running Porsches to Cadillacs for this year, as out of the car gets Norman Nato, job done for the night. So it'll be a pretty happy Jota team, to say the very least, after the efforts of today. Nato walks away, there is the car. Which will be put to bed for the night, and the sister car from the team is 4th. So Jensen Button brought it in 4th quickest, 6th quickest there before Norman Nato. This is Mathieu Drudy then. You were hearing Zach Robichon talking about a possible problem. Mathieu Drudy at the wheel here, Johnny.
Yeah, it looks like he's on his own lap. The car sounds okay, downshifts sound absolutely fine, but yeah, now the debrief between himself and Zach, and maybe just give a bit more feedback of if Matea's heard the same noises or felt the same thing. So at least they've got two different opinions potentially on a problem, but it sounds okay from the onboard.
Certainly wasn't at full noise, was it? It was an in-lap, but Mathieu Drudy races GT3 Aston Martins in other championships. He is in his 2nd year of racing them as well, so he knows the car pretty well. Drives for the Continue team in GT World Challenge Europe, as well as here for the Heart of Racing team. Down the pit road he comes. So at the end of the session, it is Ferrari, Cadillac, with 311, the Jack Aitken, Felipe Drugovich, Frederick Vesti entry being the better of the Cadillacs. That's out of the WTR, Wayne Taylor Racing stable, under the Cadillac Wheeler name. It's 29 in, so Rodrigo Salas, who was being looked at for speeding in the pit lane, Matthias Besch, who was another star in Hyperpole, and Clement Novolat, the drivers then. That car down the pit road, fastest in Hyperpole in LMP2 pole positioning class early on in the night, confirmed. GT3, Lexus fastest, Jose Maria Lopez in the end. Big at the top from the Aston Martin from Racing Spirit of Le Mans, number 10, Valentin Asclot. And then Francesco Castellacci's Vista AF Course Ferrari, third in the times. Matthias Besch happy with his night's work, gets out of the car. Second to Font Pereira in that session, and on pole position, courtesy of his efforts in Hyperpole. Really, really good effort. Very experienced driver, Matthias Besch, but you don't necessarily always think of him as getting pole positions. Out of the car gets Mathieu Drudy then, who brings 27 Aston Martin into the pit lane. And saunters to the garage. Doesn't look overly concerned.
No, he's very relaxed.
Yeah.
He's probably, still maybe on a high from his Hyperpole, but not really showing it. He's pretty chilled as Mattea. But yeah, he'll then obviously just debrief and get an early night really if he can. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's a mad rush or panic, so should all be well.
So 16th in its class, the car that's on pole position in its class. So 16th in that session. Very happy Alex Lynn has been a real hero, and he's still grinning from ear to ear, understandably. Mega lap in Hyperpole, and the Jota team making sure all is well. They'll go through their end of session processes and then be done for the night.
So that's the end then of our coverage here today from the Circuit de la Sarthe in Le Mans. Thank you very much for joining us. Tomorrow on JB Motorsports 2, you can join us for the World Superbikes at Mazzano, their 2 practice sessions. Followed then back here on JB Motorsports for all the action from Formula 1 and Formula 1 Academy, NASCAR and IndyCar with their practice sessions. Thanks for your company. So we know who's on pole the next time we race. It will be on race day with warm-up and then the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Thanks for your company. Good night to you all. Bye-bye.